from a man in deep. Said his house ain't a home and he's losing sleep. Wife cold as steel, vibe off track. Asked me how the hell to get his edge back.
What's going on, guys? We have a pretty good sponsored stream for you today, and we are streaming to X again. I finally paid for premium on my new account because the old one got banned, and I was waiting for that to get cleared up, and it looks like we're good. They didn't charge me in January, so I think that's good now, and we can move forward with our lives, rebuilding the new account. Anyway, my man wrote in. He said, "My wife's acting different lately, and I don't know what to do with it." You guys, I'm laughing at this guy. I just think it's so funny, you know, because going into this, right, this is a guy who's been in a dead bedroom situation for a really long time. And he's been following the podcast and reading the books and all that kind of stuff. And his wife's actually starting to respond positively to all the things that he's doing. And now he doesn't know what to do with it because it's been so long, right? Anyway. I think it's funny. It's a crappy place to be. That's why we're making this video. Anyway, he says, "Paul, I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I'm honestly stuck and I don't trust my instincts anymore. My wife and I have been in a dry spell for a long time. Not just a few months, years. That's not a dry spell. That's a dead bedroom. Okay, that's not a dry spell, brother." He goes, it got to the point where touching felt awkward and sex felt like something that belonged to a different lifetime. We still lived together, raised kids, paid bills, did the routine, but whatever used to be between us was gone. Over the last few months, I started doing things differently after finding your books and the podcast. I stopped arguing with her. I stopped climbing on her emotional roller coaster, as you always say. I started focusing on my own work, my health, and keeping my head straight instead of reacting to every mood swing, and something weird happened. She hasn't said it outright, but I could feel her watching me again. She's been more talkative, more emotional. A couple of times, she's even gotten upset about how long it's been since we're physical, which is something I never thought I'd hear from her. And that part honestly shocked me, right? Which isn't that funny as hell, right? Because my man here, like, it's not like guys don't want sex, right? Guys want sex, and then their wives are shutting them down. And then when you start becoming attractive again, then they complain about it. Like it's your fault for not trying this whole time, right? Anyway, we'll talk about that here in a minute. So he said that part honestly shocked me. Well, these are actually all good signs. This is all good stuff. I'm kind of laughing because it is funny from an outsider point of view. It's not funny being in it. You know what I mean? Especially being in it for this long. It's really heartbreaking, right? But these are all good signs. So that's good news. And don't you just love how the lack of intimacy is never her fault, right? Women reject you for so long. So you give up trying. Then when you start being more attractive to them again, they're mad that you didn't try more. It's like, it's can't win theater. But this is one of those things where you can't look at what women do from a logical point of view, or else it's going to drive you absolutely nuts. It's going to drive you absolutely crazy. And we were just talking about this, I think yesterday in the Wolf Pack, when this guy, one of the brothers in there was saying how he's like, he goes, Paul's the only show. Paul's show's the only show that I could watch that doesn't make me want to rage quit when it comes to women, you know, because he's like, women will say they want this and this and this and this, and then when you try to give it to them, they don't like it, right? And I'm like, well, this is why you don't listen to women. You don't get your advice from women. You don't ask fish how to catch fish. You ask fishermen, because women don't know what the hell they want. And they make no logical sense. And as soon as you understand, or as soon as you stop trying to logically explain women and you explain to them from the point of view of emotions, which come and go and they're fleeting and stuff like that, they start making a lot more sense, right? Which still doesn't make sense to men, but whatever. He goes, the problem is I don't know what to do with it. It's been so long that I don't remember how to touch her without feeling forced or creepy. I don't want to jump straight into trying to have sex and blow whatever this is, but I also don't want to stay stuck in the same safe, distant routine that got us here in the first place. And that's I think it's smart not to to be a little bit hesitant. You know what I mean? Because you can't just go from 0 to sex. You just can't. You can't do that. Not after you've been in a dead bedroom for as long as you have, right? But this is why Kino escalation is such a good skill to learn. Okay. Now it's funny. I had the late great Alan Roger Curry on the podcast a couple of years ago. In fact, I interviewed him right before he died. So I was the last person to interview him. And his books are phenomenal. But one of the things that he said on the podcast was that you cannot seduce a woman without verbally seducing her. And I think that's fundamentally not true. That's what Kino escalation is. Kino escalation is all touch. And I never once verbally tried to seduce a woman. It was always Kino escalation, right? But this is why it's great, because Kino escalation, it's just touch. It's just breaking that touch barrier, right? And so you're not immediately getting sexual with her. You're touching her just in quote innocent places, right? You're touching her on the small of her back. You're touching her on her upper arms or something like that, right? You're just like reaching out and grabbing her shoulder or something, just letting her know, like, hey, I'm here, right? That kind of thing. So Kino escalation is really good here. But what is Kino? Because I mentioned that a lot in the Wolf Pack. We have another guy that's actually going through something very similar right now. And what I told him was, I was like, you need to do Kino escalation on her, right? And he's like, what's Kino escalation? So I'm glad you asked, internet man. What is Kino escalation? Kino is short for kinesthetic or kinesthesia, right? Which is just a fancy word for touch. That's all it is. So Kino escalation means you're touching her in a certain way that gets her in the mood, and then you escalate from there until you're having sex with her, right? So how does it work? You basically, let's say I always give this example. It's always the same on the podcast, right? But let's say she's cooking dinner or washing dishes. You walk up behind her and you put your arms around her waist and you kiss her on the back of the neck or something, right? That's Kino escalation. Now, you do that a little at a time. You don't just wait until you go to bed, because this is what most guys do, right? They just wait to go to bed and they're like, hey, it's sexy time, right? Well, if you've been in a dead bedroom situation, that hasn't happened in years. You can't just do that. You know what I mean? And you guys shouldn't be doing that anyway, because there's no sexual tension being built up there. You know what I mean? So it's better to do Kino escalation, whether you're in a dead bedroom or not. I talk about it more in Keep Your Bitch, right? In Keep Your Bitch, I talk about the importance of Kino escalation just for keeping the spark alive in your relationship. Now, a lot of you guys ended up in dead bedroom situations because you failed to keep the spark alive, and you got into a place of complacency and routine, and now the attraction's gone, right? So now that my man, the attraction's back, she's feeling something for him again. Now you want to start doing Kino escalation, right? So you go in for a little bit and then you pull back a little bit. You're not just trying to have sex with her while she's cooking dinner. That's never going to work anyway. She's going to ruin dinner. She's going to burn the food anyway if that is successful. So you go in, you kiss her, and then you pull back and you move on like nothing happened, like it was no big deal, and let her go. What was that all about, right? And then you go back in maybe an hour or two later. You do something similar. You sit next to her on the couch. You don't just let her sit on one side of the couch and you sit in your recliner chair, or you sit on the other side of the couch. You sit next to her on the couch, right? So one thing that I do with Nurse Chick is I always sit on the one side of the couch. I'm sitting next to the armrest, and Nurse Chick sits next to me. She doesn't sit over on the far side with her cell phone. She sits right next to me. That way I could touch her. I can Kino escalate her. And then going back to Alan Roger Curry, one of the things that he talks about is talking into a woman's left ear, getting into her left ear zone. There's a whole thing about that. I talked about it on the podcast. I'm not going to go into depth on it. But one of the things I joked with Alan was, I go, well, Nurse Chick always sits on my left side. It's because she's trying to get into my left ear zone. She's trying to put the moves on me. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing. Anyway, but that's it. Like, you want to be able to put yourself into a position where you can physically touch her to get her thinking about it. Okay. That's really what it is. You want to get her imagination going and thinking about sex. You have to get her mentally into sexy mindset. And the problem with women is women can't shut their fucking brains off, right? They are thinking about a million different things. They are going a mile a minute, and guys are very good at compartmentalizing, right? Like you're done with work, you clock out, you go home. Now it's football time, right? Like it's pretty easy for guys to do that. Women can't do that. Women have a terrible time doing that. They can't shut their fucking brains off. And this is why, like when you have a mother, right? Like let's say you're married with children, it's really hard for women to turn off their mom brain and go into sexy wife brain, right? And so you have to interject sometimes, take the reins, put the kids to bed yourself, just to take that load off her so that she has a chance to shut her fucking brain off and trust your masculine leadership, and then feel ready for sexy time. You know what I mean? Like there's things that you have to do to keep this going, especially when you're in a long-term relationship and you have other things and life happening and you're married and there's lots of things going on. Okay. So anyway, Kino escalation is touch. I hope I explained that well. If not, get my book. Everything I knew when I was 18. I explained it really good in that one. Think of what you would do if you were dating a new woman. Okay. Like pretend she's not your wife. What would you do if you were out in the dating circuit and you found yourself in a situation where you invited a chick back to your place and she came back to your place? How would you move forward there? Right? You need to essentially treat this the same way. Now, for you, just divorce her, bro, guys, right? Because there's always those guys out there. Whenever I talk about fixing a dead bedroom situation, there's always inevitably someone in the comments going, just divorce her, bro. Just divorce her, bro. instead of get her to F you again, bro, just dump her, man. She ain't worth your time. Here's the thing. If you can't do this with your wife now, how are you going to do this with a perfect stranger? That you're going to be too in your head about it. You're going to not be bold and confident. You're going to be too nervous. You're going to be too worried about screwing this shit up, right? Your wife at least has seen all your bullshit. So what's the harm? She's been rejecting you anyway. Who fucking cares, right? At least go for it, right? Okay. If you can't do it with your wife, you're not going to be able to do it with a stranger. And a lot of guys think that leaving is the easy option. Then they find themselves on the dating circuit after 15, 20, or 30 years of being out of practice and find out that dating isn't this easy solution that they thought it would be. You know what I mean? There's a reason why your wife stopped having sex with you. You stopped being an attractive man. You think you're going to go out in the dating circuit and be this a fucking attractive guy that all these chicks like? Most of you guys aren't. You know what I mean? So you got to get to a place where you're attractive again so that your wife starts thinking that you're attractive, which my man's clearly done. You know what I mean? So now that you're there, now you're in a better position to run game on your wife. And then if it still doesn't work out and then you want to dump her, great. At least you've practiced on somebody. And now when you go out in the dating circuit, you're ready for the big show because you've practiced. You see what I'm saying? All right. It's best to practice on this stuff now, regardless of whether you stay with her or not. Okay. If you can run game on your wife who's seen all your bullshit for the past couple of years, you can run game on anybody. Okay. You run game on anybody. My man goes on. He says, what makes it harder is that when she gets emotional or irritated now, it feels different. Before it felt like she was checked out. Now it feels like she actually cares again. And that makes me nervous because I don't want to screw it up. And this confuses a lot of guys, because when you're in a dead bedroom, any emotion from your wife is actually a good emotion. It's actually good. Okay. Because women are emotional creatures and they need to feel something when they're in a relationship, even if that means drama. Like women want to feel something, right? So it's a really bad sign when they are mentally and emotionally checked out, right? The opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. It's feeling nothing for you, right? So it's really hard to move the needle when she feels absolutely nothing. It's really hard to move the needle. Okay. But if she feels anger for you, I want you to think of women's emotion like a thermometer. Okay. Think of it like a thermometer. Okay. Think of anger as cold. and think of passion as hot. All right. They are similar in nature, but differing in degree. All right. At no point on the thermometer can you determine exactly when things go from cold to hot or from hot to cold. Okay. It's a gradual change in either direction. Right. This is the Hermetic law of polarity. Okay. It's a universal law. It's kind of like gravity. Okay. If she's feeling anger towards you or hate towards you, you can transmute that hate or anger back to passion through your attitude and your actions. You can. You absolutely can. Just as an example of this, we have a number of guys in the wolf pack that are working on their marriages, working on that kind of stuff, and they are continuously blown away when they apply the stuff that I talk about and Get Her to Fuck You Again, right? Where like their wife will throw an attitude at them or something like that, and they basically use the techniques in here like fogging, agree and amplify, indifference, negative assertion, negative inquiry, like all the kind of stuff that we talk about, the red pill space, the red pill sidebar. I talk about all that stuff in here. It's a condensed one book where you can get all that kind of stuff, right? Anyway, they take that stuff and they are always amazed at how their wife goes at them with like wanting to fight. And when they use this verbal judo on her, she immediately takes the fight out of them. And they're like, they don't know how to respond to that because they're expecting to come after you with a fight. And because you've always probably fought back, they're expecting that aggression and fight back. So they're going into it with the mindset of a fight. And when you don't give that to them because you're fucking verbally judoing them, they calm the fuck down and they relax into their feminine because you're maintaining frame, you see. We had a guy, Brother Dale brought this up the other day. He was like, my wife came at me with a bill and she was like mad at me and she was like, you didn't pay this bill or whatever. And it was a complete misunderstanding. And instead of fighting back, which is what he normally would do, he goes, you're so cute when you're mad. You're so cute when you're mad right now. Let's take a look at this bill together. And she's like, what? Like, she goes, what are you doing right now? Like that. She immediately stopped fighting and she goes, wait a second, what are you doing right now? And he's like, let's just take a look at it. And they open it up and they look and he goes, yeah, see, it's nothing to be worried about. God, you're so cute when you're mad. And she was like, just dumbstruck that it didn't turn into a big blowout fight. She walked away and literally came back and apologized to him. You see what I'm saying, guys? Like, so whatever they're feeling, it's good. You can use that to your advantage. Okay. You can work with it. If she has apathy and she's fucking mentally checked out, it just feels nothing for you. And it's really hard to turn that around. He says, I keep finding myself freezing up when there's an opening to be physical. I overthink it. I worry about pushing too far. I worry about being rejected. So I do nothing. And then later I'm mad at myself for missing the moment. This is the same thing when it comes to dating. Okay. He who hesitates masturbates. He who hesitates masturbates. A big part of a woman's attraction are a man's confidence and boldness. Okay. When you fail to act, she takes a step back and her attraction for you dips a bit. Okay. When you confidently go in, it increases her attraction. Okay. Women respond to confidence the same way that men respond to a nice pair of tits. Okay. I've actually been teaching this to my son. This has been really fun because my son's a teenager, right? He's 16 now. And he has really taken to heart the always go for a kiss. And in fact, he told me he went to a competition. He's in this thing called TSA, he's in TSA, but he's also in this thing called FBLA. So he went to this FBLA competition, this regional competition, and gave some business presentation there or something like that. And he met this chick that goes to one of the local high schools. She goes to Delta High School. And he met this chick there and they started talking and stuff like that. And before he left, he made sure to go in for a kiss on her. Oh, but it wasn't at the he met her at that thing, and then he went to a dance and saw her there or some shit. I don't know. One of those things. Anyway, he met a chick, went in for a kiss. And then at first she was texting. She's like, you violated my boundaries. I didn't really like that much. I didn't like that kiss that much, And then he's like, oh, my bad, but he didn't really apologize for it. He was like, oh, yeah, my bad. And because that's awesome. I was like, that's a shit test, bro. Like, you gotta treat it with indifference. So that's kind of what he is. He's like, oh, my bad. And anyway, she couldn't stop talking to him about it. She was like, I think you're a really good kisser and all this kind of stuff. Right. So it's one of those things where women say, I didn't like that. Right. There's a story about that in How to Be a 3% Man, where Corey's making out with this chick and she goes, I didn't like it. I didn't like that you went in to kiss me. And he's like, yeah, in his head, he's thinking, yeah, you really didn't like it because, I could really tell you didn't like it because you had your tongue in my mouth. Right. Women say all sorts of crap. It's their anti-slutty sloot defense. Right. But they like it. They like bold moves. And this chick couldn't stop thinking about my son kissing her. And so she's hitting him up again. So he, last night, he asked her out. He's like, hey, yeah, we should get together when you're free, And she said she was free that night. So he's like, okay, cool. And he texts me, hey, Dad, you mind if I go out with this chick? I'm like, no, go ahead. So he went out with her and he was out pretty late. So I was talking to him this morning. I was like, it must have went well. You were out pretty late. And he's like, oh, yeah, it went really good. And I was like, you end up kissing her? And he goes, oh, yeah, that's all we did. Like, my man. Anyway, always go for a kiss. It's a very important thing. And so one thing you need to do, it's very similar to dating, right? Is you need to use a 3-second rule. You need a 3-second rule, right? Because one of the things that he said here is I overthink it. I worry about pushing too far. I worry about being rejected. If you have the urge, if you feel the urge to make a move, you have 3 seconds to go for it. 3 seconds, because if you don't, you're going to talk yourself out of it. Okay. It's the same as cold approach. Okay. If you wait longer than 3 seconds, you're going to talk yourself out of it. So if you have the urge, 1, 2, go. Okay. 1, 2, fuck it. All right. just go for it. Okay. Rejection is better than regret. He who hesitates masturbates. Okay. Throwing out all these axioms at you guys. He goes, I guess what I'm asking is how a guy is supposed to restart physical contact after it's been dead for so long. Do you ease into it? Do you just go for it? Do you wait for her to make a move? You don't wait for her to make a move. Don't wait for women to make moves, guys. Stop that shit right now. Okay. Women are passive by nature. They are expecting men to initiate. They're expecting men to make a move. Okay. Stop waiting for women to make moves. You're acting like a woman when you're doing that. Okay. And that's a part of the reason why women stop being attracted to you, because you're acting like a woman. Okay. But you can't just go for sex either. Right. So use Kino, like I mentioned before, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, prime the pump, going for a kiss, pull back a little bit, that sort of thing. If she's receptive for kissing, escalate from there. Okay. If you can get to a place where you're literally making out with her, like you're teenagers, that's when you can start escalating, like putting your hand under her shirt, undoing her bra, like that kind of stuff. Okay. You do that a little bit slowly and just do a little bit at a time, right? You go in, undo her bra, see what she does. Take a second, right? Keep making out with her. If she doesn't flinch at you taking her bra off, well, now go in and start touching the goods. You know what I mean? Like there's a method to the madness here, guys. Okay. Think back to when you were a teenager. How did you do it? Do it the same way. Okay. Oh, when I was a teenager, I waited for her to make the first move. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. Okay. Don't do that then, but you know what I mean? He goes, because right now it feels like the door might be cracked open, but I don't know how to walk through it without slamming it shut. Okay. The key to this will be confidence, which will come from bold action, letting go of attachment to outcome. If she's not receptive, at least you tried, which will boost your confidence. Okay. Rejection's always better than regret. It's the same as dating. And this is actually why, even if you guys are married or you're in long-term relationships, studying dating and dating advice actually helps men in long-term relationships because it keeps them on top of their game, right? That's really when most guys are playing the game, is when they're out dating, right? And then they get into relationships and they think they don't have to play anymore. But the work never stops. There's no buffer from the sexual marketplace, okay? You always are playing the game, okay? If you stop playing the game, you end up in a dead bedroom, right? So you got to study this stuff, study the dating stuff, get back into the game, okay? And game is a part of the core four, right? Money, muscles, game, and frame. You have to be good at all of them if you're going to be a catch, if you're going to be, her best hypergamous option. We're going to be talking about hypergamy tomorrow. He goes, that's why I wanted to sponsor an episode on this. I feel like something has changed, but I don't understand the rules of this new situation yet, and I don't want to mess it up. First, you got to stop thinking about messing things up, right? That is an attachment to an outcome. Okay. You got to let go of all attachment to outcome. If you don't let go of that attachment to outcome, you're never going to fix any of the shit. You know what I mean? You're too focused on a particular outcome. You got to let that stuff go and just focus on what you've been doing. It's clearly working. She's responding to it again. So now this is the next step, right? And shoot your shot, bro. Shoot your shot. She's your wife after all, right? If you fucked a girl once, you can fuck her again. Okay. I'm just going to say that right now. If you fucked her once, you can fuck her again. Okay. Smash that like button. Okay. Anyway, keep reading the books. Okay. I go in more depth, guys, on Kino Escalation in Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18, which is my dating book, right? That's why I say you gotta study some of this dating stuff too. Okay. I talk about Kino in pretty much all my books, except for like, I have a small law of attraction book that I don't really promote that much. I don't talk about Kino Escalation in that. That's really more of a woo-woo thing, but the rest of the books I talk about it. Oh, and then I'm almost definitely going to be talking about it in the book that's coming out in June, which is going to be called Dick Her Down Right, which is all about being better in the bedroom and literally fucking her brains out. Because if you dick a girl down right, she'll forget all of your bullshit. Okay. So some of you guys could use that. But that's all I got, brother. I hope that helps. The main thing here, 3-second rule, be bold, Kino Escalation. Okay. I hope that helps. What do we got here? We've got Handsome Pete's in the house. He says, gentlemen. And then John says, she's cheating on you, bro. Laugh my ass off. She might be. She might be. That's all we got, guys. That's all we got. Tune into the podcast tomorrow. We're going to be talking about why hypergamy didn't cause your breakup or divorce tomorrow. It's going to piss off some of you guys, but it's a message that a lot of you guys are going to need to hear, especially you guys that are going through a breakup. You guys have been tuning into a lot of red pill content, but a lot of red pill content's negative and shit. And it's never your fault, right? Oh, these women are never accountable and they're hypergamous nature and these evil women, right? Who's not taking accountability? Who's pointing the fingers here? Right? Okay. So forget about hypergamy. It's not hypergamy's fault that she left your ass. That what did John say? She's cheating on you, bro. Yeah, she might be, but there's a reason for it, and it's not hypergamy. Anyways, guys, smash that like button. We do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail, and then occasionally we have these sponsored episodes on Tuesdays and sometimes Thursdays. But that's all we got. We will see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time.